Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. This is Let's Talk Automotive, episode 54. And in tonight's show, we have the latest and breaking automotive news. We review the BMW R1250 GSA Adventure. And our guest tonight is Wynand Olivier.
What a legend. And we're going to play game time against Wynand just now, and then we'll have our segment on how things work, where we're going to have a look at satellite navigation, and then, of course, my favorite, fast favorite, meme of the week.
Absolutely. Looking forward to that. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Let's Talk Automotive. Beautiful Yun, it's been a crazy week. We did a couple of reviews. We had the Opel Corsa here. We had the Peugeot 3008.
What a car.
But not only that, it was a huge week for the Springboks. And that's why we have Wynand here tonight, because we just thought we have to have a little bit of a rugby theme.
It's going to be great to chat to him. I've got some hard pressing questions.
I'm sure.
But yeah, what a great win for the Springboks. I think an awesome comeback.
Yeah.
The pressure that those boys were under was immense. I was not able to contain myself. Imagine being on the field under that pressure and still holding it together. So they did a great job.
Couldn't agree with you more. But Sunday, you know, passionate F1 supporters that we are.
My TV, I tell you, I need to put up a bulletproof pane of glass because it's getting a lot of cups of coffee thrown at it.
2 weeks or 2 races in a row.
Yeah.
The heartache, you know, first lap calamities. I'm sort of over this shit.
Yeah, so I think the Mercedes-AMG team are going to start entering Dodgem cars next year. And I'm just wondering how big Valtteri Bottas's bonus is after that little maneuver. But I think what upsets me the most is the craziness of the Formula One rules that Verstappen is going to get penalized for putting in a new engine that was damaged as a result of Hamilton's maneuver, which he was punished for. It doesn't make sense. Anyway.
Okay, we've got some fun. We'll have some fun with that later in Meme of the Week. But I think let's get the show started with this week's news. Okay, so Pete, unfortunately, some bad news for us this week with the fuel price going up again. What the hell, man?
You know, the fuel price issue for me is a little bit cynical. I know that the crude price of oil has gone up by $1, by the way. It's only $1 that has gone up. It's not hectic. The rand has depreciated by about R1 to the dollar. So between those two, there's an excuse.
Sure.
But what really irritates me is this new levy, and I'm going to read it to you because it's so confusing that I'm actually going to put $100 out to the first viewer who can tell me what the hell this actually means.
Okay.
But I suppose bullshit baffles brains at the end of the day. Yes. So in line with the provisions of the self-adjusting slate levy mechanism, a slate levy of 6 cents and 6.58 cents per litre will be implemented. What is a slate levy?
I don't know. It's something new, but this is what I wanted to ask you. Is it government wanting some more money? Because obviously if they do this for a month or two, you know...
It's big bucks.
It's huge money.
Well, I think government
we've spoken about it before.
They should change their job descriptions to oil barons because that's how they're conducting themselves at the moment. But, you know, that knock-on effect to the economy is massive.
And in a time where we can't really afford to.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah. Anyway. Okay, so unfortunately some bad news on that month. But let's move on to the second story. And the second story is, and this is something that we've been tracking as we went along throughout lockdown and this pandemic that's been carrying on. Our automotive industry across the world and in South Africa specifically has grown. But last month, July 2021, was not a great month.
Yeah, well, I think the chickens have come home to roost in terms of the stock availability. We knew that that was going to happen. I'm a little bit disappointed in the way that the press have actually written and spoken about this as though this is a market that's declined or shrunk. It hasn't. There's plenty willing buyers out there. It's just not enough stock.
Sure.
And there's
while we talk about it, let's put the graphic up on the screen so you can tell us about what happened in the market last month.
Well, there's two things that have impacted the market. The first is obviously production in Europe is severely impacted by the pandemic and the closure of a lot of facilities. But to compound that, the two other things that have happened. The first is that there is that semiconductor shortage, or that chip.
The chip shortage.
That is hurting everybody. I mean, who would have thought a simple chip would bring the whole industry to its knees? And then there's a couple of plants in Europe that got affected by the floods.
Yes.
So between all of that, there is going to be a stock shortage going forward. So I don't think it's bad news in terms of that customers are not willing to buy. I think that's where I've got peace of mind. It's just simply a question of stock.
Now I've got a question to tie onto that with regards to used car prices. Because obviously there's stock available of used cars at the moment. That's where the guys can still play. But now pricing's becoming an issue. Now the oaks are paying premiums for used cars, and it's going up and up and up. And
well, welcome to a free market. So the law of supply and demand is simple. There is a huge demand on pre-owned vehicles at the moment, and as a result, the dealers are being more aggressive in their trade-in values, and as a result, the retail prices of those vehicles is naturally going to be high. But be careful of the bubble. That's all I can say. Because when stock does become available, believe you me, the manufacturers are going to try and make up for lost time, and there's going to be a lot of stock swimming towards South Africa. And when that starts to happen, be very careful about that bubble on pre-owned or used vehicles bursting. Okay,
so let's move on to our last story for tonight. A little bit of interesting news again with a new model coming to the shores, and the heading to this is 99 days to the Corolla Cross, the Toyota Corolla Cross, and there's a picture of it up for you on the screen. What can you tell us about this, Pete?
I'm not going to tell you much about the model per se. I'm more interested in the fact that this is going to be produced by Toyota South Africa.
Okay.
And not only is it going to be built here locally, but it's going to be built for export markets as well. So they are going to be building left-hand drive and right-hand drive derivatives.
That's interesting.
And it's going to be exported to no less than 43 countries. So a massive achievement for Toyota South Africa, and obviously the plant in Durban is going to benefit from this.
Good-looking car. Again, we spoke about it this week, that there's basically two segments in our market that's very aggressive at the moment, which is the small entry-level sort of market. Small cars, small cheap cars, if I can say that. And then the SUV, crossover SUV market, that segment is growing, and just by like every week there's almost a new model in that segment.
And rightfully so. I mean, I'm one of those people that enjoys an SUV or a crossover. I think it's functional. I think in South Africa it's awesome. We do have a lot of dirt roads, but they just look the part.
Agree. All right, that brings us to the end of the news. So unfortunately you missed out again on this one, but it's only because you think that bikes are made to go on tracks.
Well, where else do they go?
Everywhere, Pete. They go everywhere. So unfortunately you missed out on this one, but my good friend Brian Chain joined me, and we did a review on the BMW R1250 GSA. What an unbelievable bike. I was privileged to be on the launch of this bike as well, down in, where did we go? In, was it George? In George. We went off-roading and we had an awesome time, but let's get into this week's review and let Brian and myself give you our thoughts on this bike. Welcome to Let's Talk Automotive, and today I'm joined by my good friend Brian Chain again. Brian, thanks for joining me.
Pleasure, man.
And this is the BMW R1250 GS Adventure.
That is correct.
It's a bit of a mouthful.
It looks the part as well.
It does. Okay, so is this a new bike or is it just an update?
This is just an update. The original bike came out in 2019.
All right.
I was on the launch of that in Natal as well, where they added 50 cc's to the older model. And also they added their shift cam technology in the engine, which gives you your engine basically two engine profiles.
Okay.
One for lower speeds and one for higher speeds. And that just made the torque curve a lot wider.
Yeah.
But this one is merely an update. There's some electronic updates. They've added a few electronic programs to the bike. The other thing is they've added a USB port, but the main thing about this is its new lighting, the new adaptive lighting. This is the new adaptive headlights from BMW. They've also added in the indicators are now running lights.
So like a daytime running light.
Yeah, it's a daytime running light over the indicators. Everything is now LED. There's no more globes in this thing.
Okay.
But the main thing about the adaptive headlight is it's split into two sections. The first is this round section.
Yeah.
That holds your low beams. These two are for your high beams. So if I do that, you can actually see the high beam come on.
And this also moves.
That moved. The thing is with this, it's load dependent. So if you have a heavy load on the bike, this light can move 2 degrees up and 2 degrees down. Doesn't sound like much, but over a distance, it makes a difference. The main thing about this is that it's got cornering lights.
Yes.
This round section can swivel by 35 degrees. So you can really lean into a corner where then the light stays flat. So that,
horizontal.
So that your beam on the light still is the full road. That's what they've done with the adaptive headlights.
Amazing. So I'm sure that the rear lights will also look a little bit different.
Yeah, they are.
Let's go have a look at that.
The rear lights is they've integrated what we used to be in this light cluster is now integrated into the turn signals.
Okay.
They are also the brake lights.
Okay.
So if you hit the brake lights there, you can see that these lights come on as well.
All right.
They also incorporate the indicators.
Let me check quickly. All right.
So there's your indicators.
I said to you, Peter, the other day, the LED lights has just made a huge difference to lighting overall in the automotive industry. This looks really nice. I like that.
It does. And especially with the bike, it gives this bike a whole new front.
Yes.
When you see this bike in the rearview mirror, then you'll know you'll know it's a 2021 version.
Agree. All right, let's run through some of the updates and upgrades on rider modes, etc., etc.
Fanie, on the rider modes, there's a lot of new rider modes. There's even a new Eco mode that BMW have put in. But I sincerely doubt that anyone riding a GS will ever put it in Eco mode.
Except if you miscalculate fuel consumption to the next fuel station.
Then you might want to put it into Eco mode. The nice thing about this that I liked is that on the previous models you had your mode selection where you scrolled through them. It was rain, road and dynamic.
I remember, yeah.
Whereas on this one you have 7 new modes.
All right.
So you've got Eco, you've got rain, there's road, and then there's dynamic Pro, Enduro and Enduro Pro.
Okay.
Now depending on your riding style you can select any 4 of those to be on your mode selection on your handlebar.
Okay.
Or you can just select 2 of them.
Couple of other things that we've come to expect on the bikes. Heated grips. This is also has an option for heated seats, but not available on this, or not as it is here. But you get heated seats as well for yourself, the rider, and for your pillion.
That's it.
Okay. What else? Is there really nothing else that's new on this update?
No.
Okay.
If you are an old BMW rider, this will look familiar to you. There's the cruise control, the menu items, everything is as it was.
Okay, I think what we need to do is take this for a proper spin here in Cullinan area, outside on the dirt roads.
In the middle of nowhere.
I think we need to take it for a nice spin. And Brian, I just want to tell the viewers at home and wherever they are across the country and the world for that matter, is that this is a middle of the winter day in South Africa here in the Highveld. So it's about 16, 17 degrees.
14 to be exact.
14, all right. And we're just so blessed with this country and the ability to go and ride even in the middle of winter.
Absolutely.
Let's go.
So Fanie, I think we've done a little bit of gravel road now. This is not a good surface to be riding on, but this just once again showed me what an amazing suspension this BMW Adventure has.
Yes.
It felt so secure and so planted on this road.
I agree, and one thing that I must say, because we are on the camera bike, I'm on the 2012 GS Adventure, my personal bike, and just the difference from that to this is really amazing. I know that, you know, this upgrade was, there's a model between the two, but it's a massive difference. So for the guys on the older bikes, they'll be pleasantly surprised. So you said the GS Adventure is very popular, and this is the one that we have here. But what's the difference between a GS Adventure and the normal GS? Because I think it's something that always,
Yeah, there's always that question.
Yeah.
Now, unfortunately, there's probably going to be a lot of BMW riders that are now going to be keyboard warriors. But the main difference is it's got a 30-litre tank.
Okay, so it's got a bigger tank.
It's got a bigger tank, 30 litres as opposed to the 20 litres of the standard GS. And obviously the suspension part of this is just phenomenal. And the extra weight on the tank itself just makes the bike so stable.
Yeah, and there's a lot of extras that's standard on this bike, like the upper and lower crash bars and the frames for the luggage, etc., etc. So there's a lot of stuff that you get standard. I think the foot pegs are also you know, the standard on this is bigger. So yeah,
and the standard has got alloy rims, whereas this one has got laced spokes.
Yes, spokes. Yeah, I hear you. Okay, so again, do you think it's more of a personal preference between the GS Adventure and the GS, or is it very specifically application?
Well, it's application. When we rode that Paardepoort road, I was on both of them, and you could feel the difference between the two bikes.
Yeah. Price is something that we need to talk about. So now I hope the guys are sitting down.
Yeah.
But again, saying that it's not excessive compared to the other bikes. This is what it is now. You know,
that is unfortunately where we are.
Yeah.
And this being a BMW, there's a lot of accessories and specifications that you can add afterwards.
Yes.
This one starts at 353. This particular rally version.
Yes.
There's also a smaller Adventure that starts at 343, but you're looking at 350 plus.
350-ish.
350-ish for a bike, which is on par. I mean, the new Harley Davidson Pan America is 312 going to 370.
Yeah.
So this is par for the course if you are looking for a big adventure bike.
Okay. Out of 10, what would you rate this? And then you have to ask yourself the question, would you buy it, yes or no?
Well, that's, again, I'm talking a personal preference. I've ridden a lot of these bikes, and for me, I would rate it about a very high 8, almost a 9.
Okay.
It's not the best at anything in specific, but it just does everything so well.
So it's a nice package.
It's a nice package. There's certain things that I personally don't like. I don't like the size of this bike. For me, it's just too big.
Okay.
I'm still skittish off-road and everything. This bike for me is just too big. And the one other thing is the keyless entry. And this is not a BMW thing. It's a keyless entry thing. I wish motorcycle manufacturer would stop with that, because
with the start-stop button and putting the key somewhere and
losing it. Because if you are in the middle of nowhere and the key fob's battery dies, you're stuck.
Yeah.
And that's the part. But again, this is a spectacular bike. And I said when we picked the bike up this morning, I said that if I have to go to Cape Town now, I'll get on this any day of the week.
Absolutely. Okay, so Brian, I agree with you at rating, but I'm going to go a little bit higher because I am a big BMW fan. And yes, comparing, if we look at this in the big bike adventure sort of segment, this would probably be my bike of choice. So I'm going to go 9.5 out of 10 because I'm sure that it's not a perfect bike. And yes, I would definitely buy it. So I have to go and work a little bit harder to get more money. All right,
thanks,
guys,
Fanie.
that's us and our review on the BMW R1250 GS Adventure, and we'll see you guys again soon. Cheers. So are you going to go get a license now, Boo?
I don't need a license for the track.
I know, but then you can't go with us when we do stuff like that.
My condition of being able to ride on the track is that I don't ride on the road.
Okay. Well, straight into this week's guest, Wynand Olivier. Thank you very much for joining us on Let's Talk Automotive.
No, thanks for having me. It's nice to be here.
Awesome. Did you know that you are sitting next to a rugby legend.
I do. I mean, I do watch rugby. I know
Yeah.
I'm English, but I mean, hell, we play rugby down in Durban, eh?
Really?
Yeah.
I know, because I'm a Shark supporter.
Not good though, but
You see, that's why he put me in between.
Okay, so listen to this. He has won everything, every trophy in the Southern Hemisphere that you can win. Is that about right? So I'm talking, let's start Currie Cup, Super Rugby, World Cup,
Tri-Nations.
Tri-Nations, what else?
British and Irish Lions.
British and Irish Lions.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's been a good ride. I've been fortunate enough to have a very nice, long, successful career.
Yeah.
Eventually, I needed to find a real job. So yeah, but it all puts things in perspective in some way. But it was a great journey, to be honest.
Oh, I can imagine. I mean, Fanie and I were talking about it just now. Actually, if we had to give a youngster a career path to follow in rugby, you know, we'd use you as the template, because you seem to kind of tick off all the boxes in the right proportions and maximize your career. It's been awesome.
Yeah, it was great. Obviously, as a youngster, everyone's got the dream to play for the Springboks, but that's just it. It's a dream. So, growing up in Welkom, Riebeekstad, moving to Pretoria eventually, going to office, moving over to the Bulls just across the road. It's been a crazy ride, but obviously worth every minute of it. I've learned a lot of things along the way. I think rugby taught me a lot of things, from being a team player to thinking out the box, reinventing yourself over the years. A lot of people always ask me, you played against Nonno for so many times, how difficult it is. And after 2, 3, 4 years, you get to know one another so well. It's difficult to break that stigma and score tries and stuff, but you need to do it. And I think that's the one thing that separates certain players from others and make them from good to great. Is being able to reinvent yourself.
I've got a question for you. Sorry, Fanie. One of the things that I noticed with you in the way that you played rugby is you, in my opinion, were one of the straightest runners in the game. And that's honestly where I think New Zealand has their strength, is that they're able to run the ball straight. And you ran the ball straight. So who was your influence from a coaching point of view that kind of grained that into your DNA?
Well, obviously we took a lot of flack in the beginning about it, because everyone spoke about playing crash ball rugby. That was never the case. So obviously Heineke Meyer had an idea of a game plan, which he needed to find certain players that can fit a role. So it was never to play a ball week, set it up for next phase. Always the idea was to run to score. And I think that will work for us. I was fortunate enough to play with some great players like Friede Priya, Morne Steyn, Derek Hougaard, my centre partners JP, Yaku, and then you're not even mentioning all the forwards from Victor Bakkies, Gary Botha, all those guys. Like I think from 1 to 15 or 1 to 22 or 23 at the time. Everyone had something different they brought to the table, and I think the one thing that Heineke always had as an idea was to take the players that he's got and create a game plan for them, not create a game plan and then fit players into it. And the nice thing about it, players were able to adapt to certain stages. I think from 2007 to 2010, where we won the various Super Rugbies, our game plans changed, but no one actually ever realized that. Because if you ask Friede, put a box kick up 1 meter inside the 5 meter on the 50, and he was able to do it. Then you had guys like Brian Banner, Zane Kirshner, Conan Ngani, who can grab anything out the air. So I think the nice thing about all, we just complemented with each other in such a great way that made us the team we were. It's probably not the best individuals, but as a team we were unbelievable.
It was unbelievable. I want to jump in here quickly and remind the guest that this is a live and interactive show. So guys, you can please be a part of the show. If you have any questions, please pop them into the comments below this video. And I'm sure that Wynand will make some time and get back to you with some answers. And also share, man. Share the video
and like
the page and the YouTube channel.
Where are we on YouTube
crazy.
now? Where are we
over 700 subscribers.
Okay.
Yeah, so
but we've been
300,
like 6,000 hours worth of viewing. Which
it's almost 7,000.
7,000.
Yeah, no, it's crazy.
Very cool. Okay.
So thank you very much for that. If you have any questions for Wynand, you can ask them now. I want to ask you this question, because this is something that's been bugging me. Did you grow up supporting the Blue Bulls and that's why you ended up there? Or Was that your first job?
As a youngster, always supported the Bulls. There was a stage where I went from the Bulls to the Lions, where Uli Schmidt was playing.
Okay.
I was a massive fan. That was about 2 or 3 years, and then I moved back to the Bulls.
Okay.
So for me, it was always a dream of playing for the Bulls and the Springboks, and ending up there was.
We've got some of your highlights up on screen, so I think if Fritz can go through a couple of these pictures and you can just maybe give us some comments.
Yeah,
That's obviously a super rugby game that you played in.
Yeah, big mate ran a Ranger there.
Speaking of some legends.
Yeah, some great moments there with the Bulls. I think there was also a try. Currie Cup games, I think wearing the blue jersey was always a big thing for me.
Yeah.
And celebrating with Yaku there, Currie Cup win, has special memories it brings back.
Yeah.
Oh, I can imagine. I mean, one of the things I wanted to ask you is, okay, you were obviously in the World Cup in 2007. Compare that to beating the British and Irish Lions. I mean, is there a comparison to be made, or which is the bigger achievement? Because you know, obviously with the Lions, it's 4 countries you're playing against in one team.
It's completely separate if you think about it. World Cup comes around every 4 years. Not everyone gets a chance, but it's playing against the best in the world for, let's say, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 weeks. So if you're only going for those 6, 7, 8, 9 weeks, whatever, you become world champions.
Yeah.
So you can have an off week, but then next minute you're out. I think from 2007, where we beat England the first game, and for them making the final was phenomenal, beating Australia. But the British and Irish Lions obviously is completely separate. It comes around for South Africans once every 12 years. So it's obviously a massive thing. A lot of players get the opportunity to wear the Springbok jersey, but they never get the opportunity to play the British and Irish Lions.
Yeah.
So being able to do that in a career, well, do both, it's a massive thing and a massive honour. And obviously the World Cup, most of the time you play it abroad in a different country, like we did in France. But you get the support from South Africans, and you get the feel with the British and Irish Lions. I think from 2009 when we played them, there was a massive sea of red jerseys, which I feel for the boys currently, where they don't get to experience that. Playing against them, it's a massive thing, but you don't get the experience. We played at Loftus, the second game.
Yes.
During the week, you see Pretoria full of red jerseys everywhere. That red sea is unbelievable. It's crazy. And then they had the jersey in the stadium the day of the game, just floating around. Incredible for the guys not to experience it.
I couldn't believe it when I watched. I watched a couple of those reruns again over the weekend, especially that game, and I couldn't believe, like I forgot how many red jerseys there were in the stadium. There was a lot more red.
They should regulate the visas a bit better, not let so many of them.
Now that we've learned how to control travel, you know what I say, we can make a plan.
It must be very tough for the current team to be playing, you know, almost in a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, like you've described, against the British and Irish Lions, but with no spectators. I mean, what kind of X factor does that give you to have those massive crowds?
No, it's big. Obviously, going from the hotel to the stadium, you experience the vibe around the city. When you drive into the stadium, you feel the vibe that the supporters bring. Where these boys got none of that. They don't have. They don't see the sea of red jerseys. I've seen a couple of people last weekend wear their Springbok jerseys going out to the shops, which is great, but you don't get to experience that. If you think driving to Loftus on a Saturday, it's from my house to Loftus, it's green or blue everywhere, and not to experience it. It's sad in a sense, but the motivation these guys showed over the last week or 2 weeks, it's phenomenal, because that all comes from within. There's no extra factors that plays a part in lifting you up. Some people ask you always, do you hear the crowd? You don't, but when you run out, you see the 60,000 people there screaming, sometimes for you, screaming sometimes at you, but it doesn't matter. It's a massive experience. So.
I've got a couple of questions, and I know we need to get on, but this is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, so I have to ask these questions. I'm sure that if I ask you this question, you won't be able to answer us with exactly some of the stories you might not be able to tell us on TV or in public. But was there a very funny story from either tour or somewhere behind the scenes, something that happened with one of your teammates, or something funny that you can actually share with us? Something that stood out for you?
Obviously, what happens on tour stays on tour, which is quite exciting. But there is this one story with myself and Brian Abana. with Jacques Free, one or two other boys. We went out in Brisbane one night, crazy night, had a couple of beers, one thing led to another. We obviously had training the next day, so myself and Brian woke up the next morning. And he said to me, buddy, you need to wake up. I said, what do you mean? I said, like, listen, the bus is leaving in like 5 minutes.
Yeah.
So we got dressed, we ran down to the bus is gone, everyone's gone. We found Anne Lee, obviously, we looked after. She said, no, bus is gone. So myself and Brian had to get our own taxi to the training grounds, got there, obviously, what we call in Afrikaans bakkoen, so the boys thought it was a bit of a lesson. Yeah, so it's one of the moments you had to be there, but obviously, you play for the Springboks, you're never late. You're there. So, in a funny sense, it's quite funny.
Was that the last game?
That was my last game against Wales in Nelspruit.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, special memories. Came off the bench for the last couple of minutes, which was quite special.
Yeah, amazing.
Obviously, wearing that green jersey is phenomenal.
Yeah, it's awesome. I've got 2 daughters that, for their sport, both represent South Africa as well. So I know the feeling. It's a very small sport.
No, it's special. Doesn't matter.
But I
what
mean,
it is
just amazing for them so I can fully appreciate playing a big game like rugby and getting Springbok colours.
Okay, one last rugby question, because this is an automotive
Okay, but let me ask it.
Yeah.
Can I ask it?
You can.
All right. We've got to get to what's happening at the moment with Rassie Erasmus and that whole controversy around the videos. My personal opinion is I thought it took balls for him to do it. I'm quite glad he did, because I'm one of those frustrated spectators that believes we are, to a large extent, perhaps getting a little bit the short end of the stick. But I mean, did he do the right thing, or has he messed it up for himself?
I think a lot of people think he maybe messed it up in some way, but I think World Rugby got it wrong in some sense, where you're not allowed to criticize a referee in some way or another. But I also think they need to take responsibility for their actions. They've got the TMO currently, where they can use him if they have to. If they don't, it's obviously their own fault. Obviously, years back, you can appreciate the fact we humans, we do make mistakes. It's not an issue. But I think for players, all they want is consistency. If what goes for the one needs to go for the other one. So it did take a lot of balls for us to do it. I actually enjoyed the video, to be honest. I think there was a lot of, well, everything he said was actually 100% correct.
Yeah.
But again, if you look at O'Keefe on the weekend, the way he handled the game, he did make mistakes both ways, but the consistency was there. And that's all we're looking for in a referee. And if you do make a mistake, listen, put your hand up like players do. Listen, say, sorry, I made a mistake. And if you suspend it for a week or two because you made a silly mistake, it needs to go to referees as well. That's in my personal opinion.
Exactly, because there doesn't seem to be accountability. I mean, if you have a bad game on the field, you dropped, it's your career, you know, and sometimes you can have a bad game because of poor refereeing. Anyway.
Okay, so let's move on to some automotive stuff, because you're actually quite a car guy, and I don't know a lot of people. I think you've actually been to Formula One before. Yeah. So I don't know a lot of people, but you've been to Formula One race as well. Monaco.
Yeah, I've been to the Monaco Grand Prix a couple of times, been fortunate enough. Lived in the south of France for 4 years, so I think I was there 4 times.
Sure. Amazing.
Yeah, very fortunate enough, friends in the right places, that helps.
Yeah.
After my last game in 2019, I think I said to my wife, listen, the only thing I want to do is I want to bring my brother over, take him to the Grand Prix, because he missed a lot of my games when I played abroad. Yes, and what a special moment, what a special time we had for a week.
We've got some pictures of that.
Yeah, we were lucky enough.
There
We spent some time in the pits. We got to meet the drivers. We actually had a beer with Valtteri Bottas, which made me a massive Formula One. It's
Well, I'm so sorry about what I said about him just now.
No, listen. Obviously, he's a great guy. He's one of the few that actually spent time with fans and stuff. Which was for me a very special thing. And we were lucky to sit in one of the world boxes and everything.
Sure.
So the experience was just phenomenal, and to experience that with my brother, obviously the race itself was incredible. I think it's one of the races where Verstappen had he didn't win it, but he actually had a phenomenal race. The one we watched there. But the experience outside of it, I think, is probably one of the best boys trip anyone can go on.
I'm sure.
Because the whole vibe in Monaco and Monte Carlo is just it's crazy, it's insane, and to experience that with my brother, it's special.
Yeah. Okay, and then I think the last question before we get to game time is what are you up to now?
Yeah, so I actually got involved with the motor group. So I'm one of the MDs at Penta Motor Group.
Okay.
More on the financial side, financial insurance side than actually on the motor side, on the sales and actually.
All right.
But obviously, I do know what's going on because I deal with everything on the financial side.
Yeah.
But it's been an eye opener. I think I said to you guys offset. It's been crazy ride starting in December 2019 and then having COVID in March. Everyone refers to the new normal. For me, it's just normal. But it's been a great ride. I'm involved with some fantastic people. We've been thinking out the box, trying to do things differently.
Sure.
So I must say I'm enjoying every minute of it. There's been some challenging times, but I think that's for everyone currently with COVID and everything. And I think, it's experience. You need to think about it over time and then say, listen, it happened. We got out of it, and we don't know if it's going to be there for the next year, 2-3 years. So, we just need to deal with it and get on with it. I'm not saying it's been difficult times for everyone anyway.
Yeah.
Well, just a word to the wise about the motor industry. It is the last industry you'll work in.
Yeah.
Because you're either going to love it or it's going to kill you.
Listen, I had a great experience today with Redline Racing off the track.
Terence Marsh.
Yeah,
what
so
a gent. Yeah.
Okay, so I've got a question for you. Let's use this as a little bit of a warm-up.
Yeah.
Okay. I want you to guess what his first car was.
First car that you bought or first car that you got?
First guy I got, well, you can say that I bought myself as well. So.
Okay.
Okay, so I would say...
I
would say it's a Toyota.
Okay, you're wrong already.
Oh.
What about year? It was probably what?
It's probably around a 1993 or 94 model, if I'm correct.
Okay, and when did you get it?
I get it when I got my license the day after my birthday on the 11th of June in 2001.
Okay, so then it's not a Toyota, then a Volkswagen?
No.
A Porsche?
Not that fortunate.
It's a Ford, Peter.
A Ford, okay.
So this was Wynand Olivier's first car, not the specific one, but a Ford Meteor. Can you imagine this driving around in that car?
And a maroon one.
Yeah.
So it stood out quite a bit.
Who roya, who moya.
I said but obviously when you drove it when it was raining, your feet get wet. You could start it without a key. So.
But listen, now you're in the insurance side of the business. Do you know that red cars have a statistically greater chance of being involved in an accident than any other color? And the reason for it is 20% of adults have a color blindness when they're under stress, that they see red as green. So they lose the actual car against a green backdrop of grass, for example.
Thank you very much
Makes
for
sense.
that useless piece of information that you gave.
For instance, this is ringing my ear bullshit, but it's true. I promise you, it's true.
All right, guys. So I think... Thank you so much, Wynand. We really appreciate your time. It was an honor to have you on the show. Like doing the research this week was
phenomenal.
Just again to realize the career that you had. Yeah. You are honestly a living legend. Thank you very much.
Thanks for having me. It was real fun. I really enjoyed it.
But it's not over. It's time for game time. Okay, guys at home, this is where you can also play along. So if you recognize the car, pop your answer into the comments below the video, either on YouTube or on Facebook, wherever you watch.
Or on my WhatsApp number.
Or on Peter, the people that... No, where's his phone? His phone's over there, don't worry. Okay, so Wynand, I'm going to explain this to you quickly. We're going to show you a partial picture of a car on the screen over here. If you recognize the car, please shout your name, and then I'll come to you. There's 7 pictures. Best out of 7 wins. Okay, are you guys ready?
I need to just add, this is Fanie's favorite part of the show because he designs this so that I lose.
I might not know.
What clues? What clues?
I normally give a clue. So this week, all the cars are red. That's your clue.
Ferrari. Just say Ferrari.
What a great clue.
So you're definitely going to have one right. Okay, guys, here comes the first one. Wynand.
Corvette.
You are absolutely correct.
Yeah, wow. Okay.
That is a Stingray. Peter,
I can just sense I've been set up here.
You should have seen Peter's face just now.
Woo.
Okay, so 1-0 going
to shout out
into
quickly.
number 2.
Peter.
Yo.
Lamborghini Countach.
How did you know that?
Because of the air intake.
Jeez.
Yes, that's one of my favorite cars of all time.
Yeah. You know what Countach stands for? Holy cow. So when they introduced this to the press...
Is this another bullshit story?
What is it with you guys tonight? It's true as bob and all, I promise you.
Holy cow.
Holy cow. So when they introduced it to the press, one of the Italians went, Countach, and because it was such an amazing car. And then they went, oh, okay, we'll call it that then.
That's amazing. Okay, so all tied up at 1 apiece. Let's see, you guys at home, are you guys commenting? Let's go to number 3.
Peter.
Oh, Wynand is first.
It's an old Renault.
Yes, it is a Renault. Well done.
The model, I'm not sure.
I'll tell you, because that was my first car.
You joke.
A Renault 5, yeah.
Really?
Yeah, I had a Renault 5. That's not a Renault 5 TS. I had the TS. That's a Renault 5 Turbo.
Okay.
Amazing. Yeah. Okay, so I'm going to give you half a point each. Okay, how's about that?
Okay.
Okay, so all tied up 1.5. This next one, I don't know if you guys will be able to get this. Let's see. Number 4.
Peter. That's the Ferrari, bro. That's the F40.
Yes. Okay.
Jeez.
Okay. This is you guys obviously check your red cars, but just look at the intake there. Very close to the Countach.
Yeah.
Behind the door.
Yeah.
Very, very close. Okay.
Yeah, that's what got me confused.
I'm very, very excited. And
What's the score?
interested.
What's the score?
So it's 2.5 to 1.5 at the moment.
Ooh, all right.
Okay, if anybody gets the next one right, especially you guys at home, I'm going to be very impressed because I've never seen this car before. Here is number 5.
It almost looks like a Countach, eh?
It's a red sports car. Is that anybody can get this right? I'm going to be very
I got
impressed.
no idea.
No idea. Okay, let's see if anybody at home can get
I
this.
know you told me beforehand, but I've done no idea.
Really?
Sorry, I forgot.
Show us a little bit more, Fritz. Show the guys at home a little bit more. Maybe somebody recognizes it. Let's see if we can.
I mean,
show
is that
them
a
little
mainstream
bit
car? Or was that a kit car? Or more hints?
It's actually called.
There we go, Vector.
Can you? Okay, so nobody got that one. Okay, so 2 more to go. It's a flipping.
I'm sure that car was designed by the guy that first was employed by Lamborghini to design the Countach, but didn't get it right. So they fired him, and then he decided to. Because I'm sorry, that's ugly.
Okay, 2 to go. I thought it was pretty cool. Anyway, here is number 6, guys.
Peter.
Oh,
that
Wynand, come on,
is
please. You can't let Peter win this.
a Toyota MR2.
That cannot
Maybe.
be. Unbelievable.
Yes.
Okay, so 3.5.
I'm taking a hiding here.
Yeah, 3.5 to 1.5.
So I think I can't win it.
You can't win it, but let's see.
No, but
You know what?
I could have said that
You
already.
know what? I forgot about the special rule. I forgot about the
I get
special
2
rule.
points for it.
So here's how this works. On the last one, if you look like you're going to lose, I'm going to give you 5 points if you get the last one right.
Let's see.
Let's see if you can get the last one right. You guys at home, here's the 5-pointer, number 7. Just say Wynand quickly.
Wynand.
Yes, Wynand, what is that?
Porsche 911 Turbo.
Okay, so 6.5. 6.5 to 3.5.
What's that program? RQ. Do you watch RQ?
I got young kids. I don't watch TV.
Listen, guys, that was a lot of fun. Pete, Wynand, thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks, Fanie.
No, thanks,
Really,
guys. Really
Being a
good
great
fun.
sport.
absolute treat.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
Okay, Pete, so in How Things Work tonight, you are going to tell us, and this is no bullshit stories here. This is real life.
Yeah.
This is.
I mean,
Okay, so tonight in How Things Work, we're going to learn more about navigation and global positioning systems.
well, more specifically satellites. So we're going to look at satellite navigation.
Okay. This is proudly brought to you by Suzuki Auto South Africa.
Welcome to Let's Talk Automotive, and in this week's episode on How Things Work, I'm going to be taking you through the very cool technology of satellite navigation. Now, you may have heard the term GPS and thought that it stood for Global Positioning Satellite, but in fact it stands for Global Positioning System. And as the name suggests, there are different ways for us to achieve navigation. So one of the ways that we can navigate is by using radio signals, and where those signals intersect, triangulates exactly where our position is. And on a very similar manner, and a very popular way that we currently use for navigation is to use our cell phone. So systems like Waze or Google Maps, in fact, use our GSM signals to triangulate and locate exactly where we are. Now, those systems are not quite as accurate as satellite navigation, and I'm going to explain a little bit later why it is so important for us to have very, very accurate ways of navigating. But first, let's get into how satellites are able to track our positions on Earth. So first of all, we have a cluster of satellites that are orbiting Earth. The system that we use is owned by the US military. And so they have 28 satellites that are orbiting Earth, of which we use 24, with the other 4 being used as standby and backup. Now what happens is that our navigation units handshake with as many satellites as possible. And each of those satellites sends a signal to the navigation device. And we can measure exactly how long it takes for that signal to be transmitted from the satellite and reach the navigation device. And based on that signal, the device is able to then create a radius around which we could potentially be relative to an individual satellite. So if we took a second satellite and measured its radius around us at a particular point, we now narrow down our location to 2 potential areas where those 2 radii intersect. But that's still no good for us, because we could be in the southern hemisphere and the northern hemisphere at the same time, according to those satellites. So we need a third satellite signal. And that radius now will create a single point where all 3 radii intersect. And we know for sure that that's exactly where we are located on Earth. Now, one thing that you might not have known is that the navigation systems on those satellites have atomic clocks. And the reason why we've got atomic clocks on our satellite navigation systems is because we have to have very, very accurate ways of timing the signal from the satellite down to the receiver. And the reason for that is because the satellites are subject to Einstein's 2 theories of relativity. So general relativity and special relativity. So if we have a look at a satellite that's orbiting Earth, that's rotating or orbiting at a tremendous speed, and because of that speed, time relative to devices on Earth slows down. The second thing that happens is because the satellite is a little bit away from Earth, it has a slightly smaller gravitational pull as a result. And because of that, time relative to the devices on Earth speeds up. Now, there is a difference in those 2 timings, which we have to factor. And if we didn't, our satellite navigation systems would become wildly inaccurate. So it's quite interesting that we do have a space-time relativity at play with our satellites that are orbiting Earth. Now, you might have wondered how it is that we take the location that the satellite gives us and overlay that on a map. Now, the navigation companies use typically 2 methods. The first is to physically drive every inch of road in South Africa. And you might have seen these vehicles driving around. They've got these weird antennas on the top of their vehicles, which are constantly pinging satellites and at the same time recording the locations and signals on a device, and then digitize those signals and superimpose them on a map. The second way, which is a little bit more cost effective, I would imagine, is to take satellite imagery and physically trace out all the roads in the country, for example, and overlay those with the signals that we get from the satellites. But either way, those systems are relatively accurate. Now, when it comes to autonomous driving, of course, the vehicles are going to be leaning heavily on satellite technology and satellite navigation in particular in order to accurately pilot these vehicles. And that's the reason why I wanted to really explain to you as clearly as I could how satellite technology works when it comes to navigation. So I hope you found that useful and that you have a bit more information about how the systems work. And until next time, we look forward to seeing you on How Things Work.
Pete, that was honestly, I enjoyed editing that because I actually learned quite a lot. Like, I didn't know about the US government or...
Yeah, that we use their military satellites.
Yeah.
And you know, in the past, that meant that the navigation wasn't very accurate.
Yeah.
It's only in recent years that they've allowed the algorithms to be that we can be pinpoint accurate with those navigation systems.
And it, again, just realized how difficult all the technicalities about this thing that's out there in space with like the atomic clocks. Crazy, man.
Cool.
Yeah, it's very cool. Thank you very much for that.
Yeah, it's a
Appreciate
great
it.
pleasure.
Okay, so like always, we end the show with a bit of a lach. And like we said in the intro, let's have some fun at the expense of F1. So here's our memes of the week. Okay, Pete, so have a look at this first one. We'll put this up on screen quickly. Before Bottas, a full grid. And then after Bottas, there's just one oak on the starting grid. And this leads to probably the funniest thing that I've ever seen, definitely this year at least.
From a Twitter point of view.
From a Twitter point of view. Jeremy Clarkson says, clever. Only Hamilton on the track, that way he can't hit anyone.
I don't know if it's the funniest or the most accurate, or both.
It's the funniest top chirp from a top guy. Yes, I really enjoy
From
it.
Top Gear.
From Top Gear. Okay, so let's have a look at the next one. Oh, this just actually pissed me off, but yeah how funny.
Arrogant.
Mr. Hamilton says, at this speed, it's so dangerous, man. And that was him and Alonso tangling this weekend. And by the way, it just proves again what a flippin' amazing driver Alonso is.
Wow.
First of all.
I mean, that was an incredible defending.
It was crazy, flippin' amazing driving. And, I actually don't want to say anything else. But then when Hamilton does it, crashes into somebody at the same speed, it's not dangerous, but anyway. Okay, so that's it from us this week, Pete.
Yep, and then next week we're going to be showcasing, I don't know which one's going to come first, it's going to be the Peugeot 3008, and really, you've got to watch this. It's really one of the top cars we've driven in a long time. Hey?
And it's amazing because we said, we've driven some really cool cars, but this one really impressed us. So I'm also looking forward to that review. And then Vanessa Rust.
Yes.
A girl on a bike.
Girl on a bike.
She's just competed in that Romaniacs, enduro race on the bike. So joining us all the way from, I think, England. She's all from Britain somewhere. I don't know where she is at the moment because she actually just finished competing in that.
Okay.
But she'll be joining us via a video call. I'm looking forward to chatting to her.
That's going to be cool.
Guys, please remember to like and share and go crazy with all our social platforms. And thank you very much for joining us. We'll see you again next week.
Cheers, everyone.